bringing in talent from the coast here, but we'd like to see more of that happen. Yes?
What about gray hairs?
Last question.
What's that?
What about gray hairs?
Gray
Your
hairs.
program.
Yeah, love it.
Love it. I can't meet your curriculum.
Oh, you mean the application requirements? That is something we'd love for you to talk to other folks about.
Those other folks speak.
Yeah, I mean, I think though, for folks, a lot of even executive MBA programs, they don't require, say, the GMAT or GRE or something like that. So if you're interested, would love for you to actually contact folks at the Entrepreneurship Master's Program and for you to discuss some of those issues.
Right. I think it's
Thank
the
you.
time question right now, but thanks. Thanks again. What's the URL?
Entrepreneurship.umich.edu. Check it out. Thanks, guys.
Okay. Next up, we have Anthony from flipfrog, event discovery through shared calendars. And I believe he's recently been touring the United States with this startup, coming back from the University of Michigan Bay Area trip, and then coming back from South by Southwest. So I don't know if we'll have a chance to hear about those specific experiences in this presentation, but hopefully a startup that's recently been receiving a lot of feedback from people across the United States. Oh. Let me see if I have any other announcements. Oh yeah, so actually, usually a bit later in the program, before the last talk, we do community announcements. So if any of you have a user group that you'd like to announce, or an upcoming event, or anything like that, make sure you jot it down or remember it, so that when we do our community announcements, you can share it with the entire group. Let's look at it. Oh no. Well, does anyone have any community announcements now? Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Challenge Detroit. Does anybody know about that program going on? It's an opportunity they're trying to bring in 30 entrepreneurs into the state of Michigan. They're giving them living expenses as well as housing for a full year, as well as salary for $30,000. They're just extended the entry to the 25th of March. So if you know of anybody who is out of state, wants to come here, it's be a great opportunity to get some new entrepreneurs into the city of Detroit. Check it out. It's called Challenge Detroit. It's being put on by the cooperative up in Birmingham. Yeah, there is a webpage. The URL, just Google Challenge Detroit. It's the only challengedetroit.org website.
Yeah, that's it. You're right. ChallengeDetroit.org.
Cool, thank you. I think we're ready now, so...
Well, I have one. Or I guess we can wait until I finish time.
I think we got time for one more. Go ahead.
You talked about music groups. I actually got a band starting up that we're going to hit the studio here pretty soon. It's called Sanus Deus, and we have a Facebook and Reverb Nation page. So if anyone wants to check that out, it's SANUS-DEUS.
There you go. Not a traditional tech startup, but all right. Entrepreneurship in every form. All right. Here's Anthony from flipfrog.
Cool. Hi. So I am Anthony Montalbano, co-founder of flipfrog, which is a new startup that I'm working on. So it is event discovery through shared calendars. So before I actually talk about flipfrog, let me see. Okay. All right. So what I want to do first is kind of talk a little bit about the team. So right now it's currently myself, Anthony Montalbano, and Brian Ritter up here. And what we have is, well, first I'll talk about me and Brian. So I graduated with a degree in computer science. I host WordCamp Detroit in Detroit, and I also have an extensive e-commerce background, working for sites such as Chrysler, Kotex, and most recently Domino's, where I met Brian. So Brian has a degree in computer engineering from the University of Michigan. He leads a JavaScript program or project that we lead for our site called Simpler, and he also has an e-commerce background, which includes Express Cabela's and Domino's. So we worked at Domino's.com, met there, and decided that we could do something better. So what ended up happening was we started talking about some problems, and we came upon a few problems that we found within our scheduling with our scheduling services. One thing that we noticed is that our scheduling is across multiple platforms. We have Google Calendar, iCal, Meetup. There's just a bunch of things that you have your scheduling all over the place. And then another thing that we noticed was when you're actually trying to find or discover new events, you typically have to look at your calendar and figure out where certain things would fit in. So it's like you have these events that you're discovering in one place, and then you have your calendar in another place, but there's not like a good way to mesh the two. So that's what we wanted to do. Another thing that we found was there's a lot of content being created, whether it be photos and videos, and they're kind of all around the user, and they're not necessarily around the event. What we realize is the stuff that people are creating is typically wrapped around the event and not the user. So what we want to do is take out all those great photos and videos and comments and whatever else you're creating out there on the web and kind of put them around the event itself. And you contribute to the event and not just the user as a whole. So that's what we wanted to do. So what we came upon was the solution, which is flipfrog. And what we're doing is we're taking calendars and we're sticking them on timelines. So we're basically just taking your schedule and we're stretching them out on these lines that can go forever. You can kind of swipe through time and see different events on timelines. By doing this, we can take your current calendar and then different event discoveries and put them side by side, and you can kind of see like different openings and gaps where you'd be able to like kind of drag and drop different events and plan your schedule that way. And again, like I mentioned before, the other thing that we wanted to be able to do is take all that social content and wrap it around events and not necessarily the people. So I'd like to try to give you a demo. Hopefully this works. So here is what flipfrog looks like. This is a small demo. What you can see here is at the top it says your lines. Right now we have this synchronized with Google Calendar. We're working with a couple other calendar services. You can see I have friends, me, and just basic appointments. And I can kind of just scroll through time and see different events and stuff, different things I'm doing. And then below that you can see different community lines, which is just stuff that we have in the public. This current demo we only have a couple of musicians. So you can see what I have here. These are their tour schedules. And if I wanted to, at any time, I can just grab one of these and just drag them like right to my calendar, and it adds it. It should. I don't know why it's not. So that's kind of what flipfrog looks like. You can do things such as zooming in and zooming out. They're not actually doing a little weird, so maybe that might be the problem. You can zoom in, zoom out. So if you want to look at things from a day view to a week view, or even like by the hour, you can do that as well. So I'm gonna, I did some demo slides in case it didn't work. So one of the next things I want to talk about a little bit is how we're actually going to make some money. And what we're looking to do is we don't want to actually be the seller for the tickets. We want to be a way for people to discover these events, and then we kind of send them over to the different services that they're already familiar with, such as Live Nation, Ticketmaster, and some of the other ones. So when you discover like a concert or a sporting event in your area and you add to your line, it would say, hey, do you have tickets yet? And then you would buy it, and then we'd get like some type of affiliate commission up for that. The other thing we can also do is promote different products related to different events. So if you are going to, say, a Red Wing game, we can say, here is a jersey, or if you have a hat or something like that you'd like to get for that event. And also the other way that we'd like to make money is we want to be able to make it easy for venues and event organizers to get their events into our system and promote their events through our system. So we'll have like premium listings and ways that they can kind of promote it. And then also we can provide really detailed analytics about their venue and the events that they're promoting. So where we're at right now, we're looking for feedback, so we really suggesting people to sign up and try to play around and see if they can break it. We are looking for some funding to make it go a bit longer, and we are looking for some people who would be interested in doing some more development and extending the project. So at that point, I'd like to open it up and see if anybody has any questions about flipfrog. Yes?
Are you an aggregator services of the others and bringing together a visual. I'm trying to figure out how much data do you have in your platform versus simply references to all the other media that you kind of apply.
So currently right now we're actually pulling in data and bringing it into our system. So we're pulling it from a few different APIs. Right now we're only using like 3 different APIs, but we're actually talking to a couple of data sources. So we want to be basically like an aggregations tool that takes a lot of this great content and then would then shoot it maybe back to them if you want like more details. But we're basically being a different interface for a lot of the event data out there.
If I enter information in your system, does it get reflected in backwards into my Facebook or something? Is it a one-way street?
So right now it's a one-way street, but we are doing it so that when you add different things to your Google Calendar, then it would sync back to your Google Calendar. So from a personal level, we have talked about different ways that we could push things out to Facebook. That way, if you wanted to do it that way, we haven't gone that full venture yet, but those are some of the things that we are discussing. So. Any more questions?
Unless I hand over here somewhere.
I was reading on your website earlier that you guys were at South by and you had some information regarding to the specifically regarding the events at South by.
Okay.
Was there any feedback that was provided in relation to what you guys are having with flipfrog, and also as it relates to something that seems really tailored to this type of product, say South by Southwest?
Yeah, one of the things that we noticed when we talked to some of the people when we were down in South by last week was that they saw a lot of potential behind this for like a scheduling of the event. So if you think of like a Coachella or like a Bonnaroo or some of those events that have like 3 or 4 stages, we could represent a line for each stage and you can kind of scroll through time and see each individual, if you had different artists, and it'd be a really easy way to kind of plan your schedule out. And you have your own line, you just drag and drop and do that. So that was like a really good feedback that we got. People seem to, the UI is quite different than other websites. It's a lot of horizontal scrolling and not so much vertical. So that's a big difference that a lot of people recognize. But we are optimizing them for touchscreens. So it works really fluid on an iPad or even on a mobile phone. So it's been our focus. Yes?
What are some of your ideas on getting a critical mass of users?
So the big one that we talked about recently was we want to get in touch with a couple of different events, such as like a Coachella or like a Bonnaroo, those type of things, and see if we can help do their scheduling. If we can really nail down their scheduling and be a really good platform, then it'd be a great way for people to just kind of dive in and start using flipfrog, and it'd be an easy way for them to do their scheduling. And then once they have an account and they realize that they can sync their Google Calendar, that would be a really good starting point for getting more people to use it. That was one of the first things that we talked about. So we're really kind of focusing on actually being a different interface for your current scheduling tool, and then we can start introducing a lot of the schedule or the event discovery on top of that. That's kind of our strategy right now. Yes.
My current scheduling tool is a thing called Outlook. How does this help me?
We've been exploring ways of getting Outlook in here, and there's a few ways that we think we can do it, where we'd be able to synchronize with your Outlook so that you'd actually take all of your Outlook calendars and it would synchronize with flipfrog, and you'd have different lines for your Outlook calendars. It hasn't been completed or done yet, but it's on our to-do list. Like it's something we do.
How will that be different than the way in which I'm using Google right now to sync? I sync all my calendars, put it all up into Google and there.
Mm-hmm. So what we really want to do is make it a platform for finding new events that you can add to your schedule. So when you actually synchronize your Outlook or your Google Calendar or whatever you're using, you would synchronize the flipfrog so that you could discover new events, whether it be in your area or even like television shows or something like that. And you could just drag and drop and add them to your calendar. So yeah, one of the things that we're talking about was being able to sync back to like your Google Calendar and get those events that you discover in flipfrog into your other calendar services. So that's kind of the application. Yes.
So how long have you been at this, and how big is your team?
So we, Brian and I, the two of us, we quit our jobs full-time in October, and that's kind of when we kind of just started to run with this and started doing the development. And so October, it's almost 6 months now from conceptualizing it, development, and what you see now.
Time for one more question?
Yeah, one more question? Yes?
In the beginning, you mentioned that most of the content with events is focused around people.
Mm-hmm.
How do you intend to do, or what are you planning on implementing so that you focused around the event? So as to aggregate all the the
Yeah.
whole thing, the Twitter, that fit into what I've seen?
So there's a few different ways that we've been looking into how we could do that. A good example is if you think of Facebook, right? A lot of people create Facebook albums, and a lot of times the albums are an event. So if we think of it like that, where they can, we could synchronize or connect to the Facebook Connect, and we'd be able to pull up their albums and say, hey, would you like to add this to this particular event? You could do it that way. And then once we start aggregating, content that way, that's like one example. You can do the
Twitter,
same thing with YouTube. Or,
we have Twitter working right now.
yeah, we do. One thing we do have is Twitter, where you can set like a certain hashtag, and we can kind of record like the feed of tweets for that particular event. But yeah, we definitely. Well, the big thing is we want to get to a point where we're having people contribute content like directly to flipfrog. The best example I'd like to think of is if we had, when we get to a point where we have a much better application for the phone. You take a picture with your phone like at a concert, and you upload it to that event, and if there's 20,000 people taking photos and publicizing their photos to that particular event, after the event you can go back and say, oh, these are really cool to see, this one concert from all different angles of the photos that were shared. That's kind of the long-term approach, to have people contribute content directly, but our more short-term is to help import or bring some stuff over from other services.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. I've long been of the opinion that the most important quality any entrepreneur can have is tenacity. And Tashkeen has that in spades. I think he emailed me probably 7 or 8 times about presenting at A2NewTech, several different ideas, wanting to know what it was like to present at what a typical presentation looked like, that sort of thing. And so I can't wait to see what came from all of our communication. So next up is Tashkeen from Schedule, which is a way to maintain a waitlist and notify people on that waitlist by email and SMS.
So I'm one of the founders, or the founder at Sketchful. I'm actually a physician by training, but I grew up actually in the Bay Area, so there's kind of this little inkling in me to try to come up with something new, and being in the field of medicine, so I thought we'd start off with something there. So what Sketchful is about a few months ago, my wife was trying to schedule me for a dentist appointment, and our dentist actually works better than banker hours. He only works 8 to 5, doesn't even work weekends. And I was trying to schedule it at a time when I was working nights, so I'm there during the day. And unfortunately, they didn't have any openings. So we told them, give us a call back, when you find an opening. Over the course of the next 3-4 weeks, we kept getting calls, but unfortunately, whatever the workflow was, we'd get calls about either appointments that just didn't work outside of that week, or they would give us a call, leave a message. By the time we get back to them, it was already, the appointment would already passed. And after this going on for 3 or 4 weeks, we just kind of gave up and found a new dentist. But what kind of struck me was that, well, this is kind of a frustrating process. I mean, why is it why is it so hard to get into this dentist, even though you know that they're having cancellations? And coming from a healthcare standpoint, I've actually seen it on the other side, where I'm sitting in the clinic and we have cancellations, and we just can't fill it. And then, from a business standpoint, it just doesn't work too well. So the business that we're trying to figure out, we're trying to attack, is that how do we provide a solution where services who are appointment-based can fill their cancellations in a much more efficient manner. Cancellations, again, there's a lot of lost revenue. For a physician, a single appointment can reimburse anywhere from $50 to a few $100. What are people using right now? It's usually pretty rudimentary. Either it's some sort of paper they're passing around. Oftentimes it doesn't record the appropriate information. Sometimes, they might be using something electronic like a worksheet and just sharing it, but it's nothing too fancy. And then also, there's a lot of phone tag that actually happens. The appointment opens up, you go give them a call, they're not there, then they give you a call back. And at the end of the day, there's a lot of insufficiencies. What that unfortunately results in is lost revenue and unnecessarily long wait times. So out of this is what this idea came out of Sketchful. So here's a little screenshot of our front page. But how does it work? What we do is we offer a simple web form where you can basically keep track of wait lists. We can keep track of people who want to be seen in your clinic or in any other appointment-based service. When you add people to the wait list, you can add times that they want to be seen at that works with their schedule, and also provider preference if you have many providers. So here's this a simple wait list. What it looks like. You can see there's just 2 people added to this wait list. Over here, we've added times that they're available at. Particular doctors or whoever that they're willing to see, and then you can add other notes to it. So that's great. Now we can have an organized way, and it's all web-based, so it's easy for people to share this or to log on to the same set and see the same data. But what comes after that is how do we let people know that there's a new appointment available? You basically go through our site and you have a structured way of creating a new message. And you tell us, if there's a particular provider the new appointment is available with, and if there's and what timing this appointment is at. And we basically take care of the rest. We'll look at your wait list and we'll match it. We'll make sure that we only send out messages to people who will actually be able to make the appointment. And we basically use two ways to communicate this new availability. The first one is, and they're all asynchronous, which I think is really essential to making this work. First is email. So here's just a typical email. It's probably kind of small, but it just basically tells you what time the new appointment is at, who the appointment is available with, and then we provide you the phone number. But to make it even less hassle-free, because there's still some phone calling back and forth, what we do is we provide a little link that you can click on, and what that does is it'll take you to our website. This one is obviously a bit too small to see, but what you can do is basically you can put in your phone number, and then we'll connect you with the office. So that and the reason this will optimize and makes it really hassle-free is that you know that the patient is ready to be making the phone call, the appointment works with them, and then they call you right then and there. And so you get through and you get your appointment filled. The other way we communicate is with SMS. It works in a relatively similar way. You get the message, you get the time that's available with who. And again, to make it even another hassle-free step, what you can do is you can actually just reply to the text message and say yes. And what we'll do is we'll call you and then we'll connect you to the clinic office. And you don't have to worry about trying to give them a call. Kind of a side effect of this platform we created is that there's now a new asynchronous way of communicating with your clients and all your patients. So we basically use two means, SMS and email. When you sign up with an account, we give you a unique phone number that your clients can communicate with you with, and in any area code you want. And we also give you a unique email address at our domain name. And what you can do is you can send out messages outside of, you can even send out generic messages, and people can send messages into you too. And that way, what you can do is you can track all your communications, and you can do this all from one inbox. And most clinics don't have a way of asynchronously communicating with you, and that's actually pretty important because sometimes you just want to send a brief message. You don't want to necessarily give a phone call. You don't want to leave a message. You just want to you just want to send a brief message or hear back from them, ask a simple question, and this is a perfect way to do it. And we've done it in a way that's going to be HIPAA compliant for those for those who want to use it for their medical services. Business model, we've kind of played around with a few things. It's going to be basically this, the trend is to make it a freemium model. So we'll have a free version where basically just got email support. Cost for sending out emails and running a service of that is pretty low, so we're willing to kind of absorb that cost. And then we'll have a kind of a version above that where basically allow you SMS support only. And then the premium version, which includes SMS and this phone call and conferencing service. And that's where a lot of the cost actually goes, because you have to end up paying per SMS message or per phone call you make. And then we'll have a separate account because there's going to be a subset of market, which I'll talk about a little bit later, but there's going to be, there's going to be people who are going to be willing to pay a little bit more. And so in order to provide a better service, you have something that will be for them. And then here's just a list of, I'm coming from the healthcare environment, so there's medical stuff, but there's also all sorts of other people who run appointment-based services that can benefit from this. So, why did I come and present this? Well, I'm a physician by training, and that's almost where my training stops. I do technology on the side as a hobby. I can do web development, but that's about it. So, when I'm looking for feedback and advice, where we can go, I don't have any marketing and sales skills. I don't even have any pitching skills either. But, I think that I'm looking for someone who can help me on the business end of things. Some of it's simple, but I think to take it to the next step, I think I need someone with more of a business background. And then, eventually we're going to be looking for early investment because, to take this from ground zero to something, you need some money. So, with that, I'll open it up.
Great, perfect.
Who are your competitors?
So I specifically wanted to do this. So we only focus on cancellations. We don't focus on general scheduling. And so people doing this, there's no one actually that does this yet. There's a lot of people. Healthcare, Web 2.0, healthcare kind of stuff. There's a lot of people out there. There's a lot of people doing scheduling. The most well-known of them is ZocDoc. If anyone's. And then there's another one called Appointment City. But they focus on scheduling. They focus on getting a doctor's schedule on the internet so that you can go to their website and be like, I'm looking for a ENT doctor in Ann Arbor, and so then you'll see their schedule. But their business model's on that. So I have not found anyone who's helping people with management of cancellations and wait lists.
How do you integrate with their schedule? Like say, you have a doctor, they already use some scheduling software like you said.
Right.
How do you integrate with that?
Right now, it's a complete standalone product. And the reason for that is because most of the scheduling is not, it's pretty archaic. I don't know if you've ever, I mean, it's not it's not cloud-based, not web-based or anything. Like ZocDoc, which is not really that innovative, they got like $90 million because they decided to take scheduling online, which people have been doing for a while. But so a lot of the scheduling that's done currently in clinics is all like in a silo that's not accessible from the outside. So the way we built the product is completely separate. And the advantage of doing that is that you don't have to worry about what they're coming from. But then there is that extra learning and stuff that does come with it. So.
How many doctors have you passed this idea by, and how many liked it?
Actually, we found most people like it. But it's really not the doctors that's going to be the sell point. It's going to be people who are managing the clinic. Because, I mean, doctors, like anyone else, they want to increase their revenues, and they don't want to see patients drop off. And so from a general standpoint, they've liked it. But the real sell will be to people who are going to be running, who are going to be actually using it. Because I don't actually expect a doctor to actually do the scheduling, because rarely do doctors do that scheduling. So, but I think generally we've gotten really good feedback saying that this is something they like.
Along the lines of that question, are you concerned that this will just add another layer of complexity for the individuals that are maintaining all these clinic operations, and that they'll just become very frustrated because in addition to filling out patients into their already archaic calendars, now they have to use Schedful, and it's just too much for them to juggle?
Honestly, what I'm hoping is that people who will use this will be people who are already trying to figure out how to fill cancellations and just have a very poor process of doing it. I mean, honestly, like, if you've ever tried to get into a clinic sooner, all they do is they give you a call, and then they leave a message, and you give them a call back. It just becomes a lot of phone tag, and half the time the appointment doesn't work for you. So our focus will be, I mean, there are a lot of clinics that don't have enough volume that this would justify that you can just get into the clinic anytime you want. But there's a lot of clinics, especially specialty clinics, who you just can't get into. And a lot of them don't have a mechanism for filling cancellations, and some of them do, but they're just inefficient. So I'm really hoping that we can eliminate some of that, because if you think about the man hours that are lost in just all the kind of lost communication and I'm hoping basically to address those people and target those kind of people who can benefit from that.
If you built an API, you could probably hook into flipfrog, and then.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Oh.
Do you have any projections on how big is the market for this? And is it mostly related to medical, or did you say yes? Or
Yeah,
that's what you're in that area?
Yeah, I mean, I'm in the medical field, so honestly, no. I don't know. And this is why I need someone with marketing skills. But, I mean, I'm assuming that this can be used by people who are just running any appointment-based service. So even though my first target would be the people who are, basically clinics and like imaging centers, anything outpatient that relies on an income of appointments coming in, and then that has an assumption almost built into it that you're going to have certain drop-offs. I mean, it's kind of just how clinics run. So, but unfortunately, I don't have an estimate of.
You said there's a loss of dollars, obviously, but do you have any projections on how much money may be lost? I mean, I know that kind of make it difficult, but to get a feel for the market and how much, do you have any?
Yeah, no, I don't. Sorry.
There are a bunch of other online booking platforms like Liberty that have been around for, almost a decade now.
Yeah.
They don't do anything like this at all?
No. And I've looked at also, a lot of them don't even have APIs, to hook into too. It's kind of unfortunate.
Time for one last question.
How do you deal with the one-to-many problem? You have one cancellation, and you maybe have 10 patients that would like to take that.
Right.
How do you queue that to them and say you've got, this is your SMS, reply within 30 seconds? Or do you just
No, the way it's designed now, it sends it out to everyone, and so it's first come first serve. And so I think in the future it'd be a good idea to have a mechanism such that you let people know, unfortunately this appointment's been filled, and so that you don't get a lot of that extra sense of communications.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
So I didn't plan this at all, but this is turning into grand rounds here because I'm also a physician.
Yeah.
So
you stole my intro. So up next we have another medical startup. Sam from GalileoMD is going to talk about distance imaging for telemedicine and teleconsulting.
also have a little background in telemedicine and telestroke, and I actually was a co-founder of a company that early 2000s kind of took off and is taking care of stroke patients across the country. My partner, Zhang, he's a cornea-trained ophthalmologist, and he's also a major in the Air Force, so like he's overachiever, and he's also a lot of content expertise. So the background I just want to throw you real quick is, HHS is doing a lot of healthcare reorganizing, and the point is that they're changing a lot of things from the fee-for-service, which is basically taking care of your problem, and then if it breaks, they take care of you again. And they want to change that to sort of this thing called fixed reimbursement, which is they give you a chunk of money, and when problems come up, you use that fixed reimbursement to take care of whatever disease you've got. So it's in their best interest now to spend that money wisely and not, throw money at the problem, throw studies at the problem, and try to fix it. That basically means they have to come and take care of you and look for outcomes-based results. So what that means is there's going to be a lot of clinical data sharing. A lot of physicians are going to have to interact together to take care of whatever disease that you present with. So there's a lot of things that need to be shared on that little bottom line there, which is why fluoride, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But the point is that we wanted to focus on imaging. There's the DICOM protocol, which is the radiology group has spent the last decade or so, putting together a huge stack of protocols on how to shoot images back and forth with all the patient data tied to the images. And specifically because of my partner's expertise, we decided to focus on ophthalmology first. And so we came up with a cute little name for distance imaging. The point is that we want to build an imaging platform here that we are focusing specifically right now on basics in ophthalmology, just because it's something easy to tackle and there's a large volume of patients. But you can basically embed this into a multitude of different other specialties, because everything from now on and into the future is going to be a lot of non-invasive imaging. And if you bust your knee, they want to take an image of it first before they do anything to fix it. So just a real quick explanation of how the referral model works now. You have an eye issue, or you want to get LASIK, so you go to the ophthalmologist. If they find some sort of issue with you and they don't have the advanced equipment that they need to do imaging for you, they send you to the university, which has a nice big capital equipment, a shared model, so all the equipment that you need to do the study for is at the tertiary center. So a lot of times there's a lot of inefficiencies, because when you refer somebody, after referring somebody, the physician at the other end has to relearn your entire history. There's a lot of wasted resources, because you can imagine the capital equipment at the tertiary center is idling 20, 40, 50% of the time. And with more advanced studies coming out now, there's going to be possible negligence, because if they offer you, say, fancy LASIK surgeries, but they don't have the studies to make sure that you qualify for it, it's possible negligence. So what we're proposing is, maybe we can talk later, scheduling the patient first, and I'll give you a little demo on that, but we schedule the study and push it to the modality at the tertiary center. So when the date for the schedule arrives, the patient shows up at the imaging center, and all they do is they get imaged. So they don't have to see another physician. We can get the notification that the study is complete and push the image down to the physician that ordered it in real time. And the business model is sort of still playing around with it, but it's basically, the outpatient clinic, which is smaller and has less resources, we basically provide the service for free. The imaging center will bill the insurance company, they get reimbursed, and we work out some sort of a fee schedule for that. Some of the stuff that we're using, and I just wanted to let's see if we can do this. So the concept here is that, this is not the final user interface, but the idea here is that somebody in the staff, clinic, office, front desk can start inputting the patient when they arrive, pick the date, and pick the procedure, and it gets sent over to the scheduling office. And they are pushed into the machine, and when the day comes, they can go and get themselves imaged. So on this side are the results, and these are all obviously test patients, but the imaging results will come back and get dumped onto, it's full diagnostic imaging, but they're dumped onto Canvas, HTML5 Canvas. So we'll give you a little demo of stuff that's a little more interesting than retina angiography. So somebody's head CT starts getting pushed in, and we translate the DICOM protocol files into JSON and web stuff, and you can see the images popping through. But these aren't just static images; they're actually the slices, and you can pin later on all this stuff. But it's got the full functionality of an actual DICOM viewer, so you can switch to a window, an air window, and look for pneumocephalus or some random stuff. And adopted images. But so the point is that the DICOM protocols are can be used for a lot of stuff, and we're just focusing on ophthalmology for now. Questions?
Awesome. Thanks.
Oh, and so it's HTML5. So if we could borrow one of those 3 iPads, I could show it to you on those 2.
Questions from the audience, I guess?
If hospital systems start enacting a more universal electronic medical record or something like that, would that render GalileoMD more obsolete, because then they could just use that to transfer CTs and all of that?
So there's a whole backstory to your question. There's what's called the health information exchanges that are being put in place across the country, within the state and federally, to the federal government is mandating that everything in the hospital and the clinics be electronic medical records. So it's kind of like a shootout. Everybody's trying to develop their own version, but they all have to follow the national standard protocols. And in fact, the idea here is that we would be able to integrate into these EMRs because we're all following the same protocol. So it's the opposite of what you're actually referring. We would become less obsolete because then we would be able to reach into more EMR. That makes sense. Sir?
Can you speak a bit about the security and
well,
who can view this? I know DICOM sits there and has security protection against transmission of the information, but not so much in who sees it.
Right. Well, the business portion of this is where you end up having memorandums of understanding between the clinics, the tertiary centers, and us. And so you have to sort of...
You're still using that sort of mechanism.
Right. And, now when we turn to web-based, SSL, 128-bit encryption, all of that stuff sort of applies in the technical sense.
I wasn't so concerned about the technical sense.
Sure. But yeah, there's legalities, HIPAA compliance, the full force of the federal law coming down on you when you pull Britney Spears, head CT off because she got admitted to your hospital and that kind of thing. That's happened, don't laugh. So there's a couple of guys, companies. There's one called SEMA Radiology, but they are, they're all sort of startups that focus on different portions. SEMARadiology.com focuses on trauma. So if you get hurt somewhere in a small hospital and get transferred to a larger hospital, ideally you would want your images to go there before you got there, so the physicians can look at your CTs and see what's wrong with you. But they're focusing on trauma. We're focusing on ophthalmology. It's a large field, but I'm sure eventually if this ever takes off, we'll move somewhere. Yes, sir.
So your example seems maybe a little counterintuitive. Were you saying that it's more efficient to send every patient to the imaging facility beforehand than only the ones who actually need to go?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. So they only get sent if they find something that they can't image you at the small clinic with. I'm sorry if that wasn't clear, but so if you have something that's, say diabetic retinopathy, and they don't have a machine, which is very expensive, to image you at the small clinic, they probably have it at, the U of M. So when that comes up, they send you over there. But right now, they send you over there, you go to see, the retina specialist, which is the guy that studied the back of the eye for 3 years, as opposed to the guy in the front of the eye for 3 years. And you basically go from, physician to physician, and then you have to come back to your old guy and explain to him what happened. Not you necessarily, but the charts do. So, yeah, so this will help with that, because then you won't have to see that third guy. Yes, sir.
So the person scanning would be similar to like a radiologist scan. They'd have a specialty in maybe even how to scan or to get the right scan so that the doctor could then therefore interpret what's in the scan.
Well, no, the radiologist...
similar to, not actually.
So they're technically... I'm not sure I understand.
Well, I mean, like, you go to a radiologist. Radiologist is not a doctor.
Oh, no, that's not true. He's going to get mad at you for saying that.
He's not the doctor who's going to fix it. He's not the doctor who's going to fix it. He has training within his area of specialty, which is doing radiology.
But this is not radiology. This is ophthalmology. So
I'm just saying the role. The role. I'm saying the person who actually does the scan would no longer be that retinologist, but it would just be another person who does scans. Is that what you're trying to say?
we just use the text. So we don't use the subspecialist ophthalmologist.
Yeah, that's all.
Right. So hopefully, less wasted resources.
That was our last question, fortunately. Thanks so much. How's everyone doing? Do we need a A2NewTech seminar? Everyone doing okay? No. All right. Closing out our presentations tonight, we have Alex back by David talking about CanvasCloud, which I've been led to understand is one or more apps to help collaborate on a whiteboard or with a real-time photo sharing. So it's just anxious to see more about that. While I finish being set up, are there any other upcoming community events that you want to announce? Yes?
Yeah, there's the Great Lakes Entrepreneurs Quest is ending our registration cycle, so you don't have to have your executive summaries or business plans done until the 30th of April or the 14th of May. But we'll have $200,000 worth of prizes in June for our event. So if you want to know more about that, I'd love to talk to you. My name's Mish, and I did bring some charts very well prepared. Also wanted to mention Makeovers is got a facility out state and just south of 94, and they have got a tremendous amount of equipment that is available to use to members. CAD/CAM equipment, metal cutting, woodworking, all kinds of stuff. And I did bring some information about that if you're interested in checking that out.
Thanks. Okay, so apparently this software is so magical that one of the presenters is not even going to be in the room while it's happening. So take it away, Alex.
Yeah, hello everyone. I'm Alex. I've never presented here before, so happy to be here. I'm working with David. We're building some cool stuff, and we wanted to show it to you. And I have 2 apps and 4 iPads in 5 minutes. So the first app is what we're calling a lot lately. This is an interactive whiteboard, and you can add people just by inviting them to their email address. And so you'll be able to see that, as an example, we were talking about what do we want to do for our logo. So we came up with some examples of what we might want our logo to look like, and we can drag them around, and we can just sort of reorder them if we want a different logo to be the one that we wanted. And David's going to add a note, and he likes that order, so that's great. You can also add files to the whiteboard, so you can add images, you can add there's some rudimentary support for PDF, so the idea is you could, PDF your presentations and have them in here. And all this is done in real time. The idea being, if you're going to work with a team of people, we can do a lot of the team-based problems that you're going to encounter. We can help you with a lot of them. Not all of them, but a lot of them. So that was a quick showing of Alotly. Fairly simple. And then the other app is also focused on collaboration, but collaboration in a different sense. And see if we can get it up here. Hey David, can you hear me? Great. Okay, so this is an application to do photo sharing on the web in real time with the person who you're talking to through maybe your iPad or your iPhone or whatever other device you want to use. They can see these images as they come up. You can pick out a bunch of images and just sort of drop them on the canvas, roam around. You can see David's there. So let's say I'm talking to David and I'm like, I want to show you, this great mountain from California. I ride out to California last summer, and look at those trees and those clouds. Isn't that wonderful? And so the idea being, people like me, I'm from Buffalo, New York. My parents live in Buffalo. They have an iPad. I call them, but it's kind of lame when I call them. So it'd be nice to show them what I'm experiencing, and what I'm actually doing in the world, and sort of have the same feedback from them. Make these calls a lot more interesting. And a few other technical notes about this. This is more like a conference tool, so you could have a lot of users in here. I think up to 40, and you could have tons of images. That's a great image of the back of my ear. Yeah, so that's kind of the two apps in a very quick sort of synopsis. So I'm done. That's all I want to show.
Congratulations on your brevity. I think it's always impressive when people say a lot with a little. Were there questions from the audience?
Yeah.
How do you make money off this?
Well, okay, I'm going to turn this down. The photo call app is pretty simple, and I think that there's a pretty simple revenue model there. We charge people to use it. I mean, we have to pay a little bit for the calling service that we use, so there would be you can pay for the experience.
So then how much different is it than something like GoToMeeting or something like that that's already out there, allows you to share documents, photos,
Right.
It's on the iPad, on the iPhone, as well as the laptop?
Yeah, I think the difference between this and that is we would be targeting an audience that doesn't need a lot. So not that audience, just photos. At least initially.
I was going to say, you easily implement something like this for screen sharing. I really have not seen a good HTML5 no flash site for that yet. That would be awesome.
Cool. Anything else? Yeah.
Was your first app, did it have any audio with it?
No.
The biggest challenge in any sort of collaboration I found online, the process requires some audio.
Yeah.
Because
So
you need to stop somebody from doing something that you've just done.
absolutely. So these are kind of like prototypes, and we don't know what the best use for them is, and we're not, planning to. And one of the things that you would absolutely want is audio if you're going to work with people. It would take more time to implement. So it's a question of if we're going to do that, is the time with it. Yeah.
How about a real-time draw something? Have that guys thought about that?
We built an app like that 2 years ago, and we never turned it into a game.
Why not?
Yeah, I think I was a little bit too stubborn. So, yeah. Anything else?
I have a question. So what exactly is it that you guys are doing? Are you looking to specifically build consumer apps to encourage collaboration in some form? Are you trying to build like a collaboration technology stack? that can be incorporated in your apps, but also into like other apps, or which are you more focused on, sort of like the API or the consumer product, or?
So I would say we're focused on product. Right now, we're really enjoying just building real-time apps in general, and we're looking for a way to get more people using those. I think that that's a big focus.
I can tell you that, my personal perspective is like, Lottery was a lot less something that I understood how to make because it's more oriented towards teams. And then this is sort of like an experience that I can get behind. So, yeah. Cool.
So I noticed that the first one looked like it was a browser-based web app, and this one, is this a native app, this one right here?
It is.
Okay.
This is built that it could go pretty much anywhere. Like, it's built native on iPad because of the voice technical constraint.
Okay, and did you have any, like, do you plan on bringing this over to the web, or do you have more of like, I want to build more native apps, or do I want to build more web apps?
There's no preference.
Okay.
I think that we want to get this out and really try to push it, see what people say.
Okay.
And it could absolutely go to the web, and there's no reason not to if people wanted to use it there.
Okay.
So, yeah.
How do people in the audience here sign up to get notified when it's ready?
Oh, that's an excellent question.
If you want users, you gotta
Yeah, I mean, come to
collect emails or something.
Go to CanvasCloud.com. Go to our follow us on Twitter.
What was it called again?
CanvasCloud.com.
CanvasCloud?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe you can use that first app to put that up there.
Yeah.
Cool. Oh, yeah.
Why two apps? Collaboration in both. One's just using that. I mean, I can't use images on the first one.
Oh, you can. I think that this is like a really simple experience where we've actually figured out how to target a group that might want to use it. And like I'm solving a real problem that I have, that I reach out to my parents. And I don't really want a video call with them, but I want something that's more reactive, less like Facebook photos where they go and they don't really get to interact with me. So, yeah. Cool, thank you.
Let's see all of our presenters tonight. Occasionally there's some sort of A2NewTech after party. I don't know if anybody had anything like that planned. Going once, going twice.
Taco Tuesday?
There's always Dollar Tacos at Sabor Latino.
Too busy now.
Yeah, they're pretty busy now.
Pizza piano.
Okay, well if there's no official after party, thank you everyone for coming. Please feel free to hang around, mingle, connect with those people who ask great questions or give great presentations. And we'll see you guys next month.